Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, was on assignment on Tuesday, but he's back in his secured bunker.
Oh, he was on assignment?
He was on assignment on Tuesday.
On assignment.
Good morning.
On assignment.
Good morning, Tony Messenger.
Good morning, McGraw. Good morning, Kelly. Good
Hi,
to be back.
Tony.
How you doing?
We're doing good. You want to throw your 2 cents in on last night's third and final presidential debate?
Well, here's the interesting thing. So, obviously, the news out of the debate is that we have, for the first time in history, a major presidential candidate, in this case, obviously, Republican Donald Trump, who has said he's not sure yet. He's going to leave us in suspense as to whether or not he will respect the results of the election. This goes against 240 years of tradition. It goes against the Constitution, and it has his fellow Republicans who base their entire concept of philosophical conservatism on respect for the Constitution. And Donald Trump is basically saying on November 9th, the Constitution may or may not exist. I may or may not be elected president, but I may not respect it, and who knows what I'm going to ask my followers to do because of it. It is so blatantly offensive. It is, it overshadows all of the other blatantly offensive things he did last night and continues to do, such as calling Democrat Hillary Clinton, quote, a nasty woman, unquote. And here's the part that I found interesting. I was watching one of the networks last night, and they had Hugh Hewitt on. Hugh Hewitt is a very conservative radio talk show host who once accused me of hanging up on him when we were talking about why I dropped George Will out of the newspaper. Hugh Hewitt is a backer of Donald Trump. Hugh Hewitt was trying to go on TV last night to say that Donald Trump won 14 out of 15 rounds, but here's what he said about that one thing. Donald Trump knocked himself out on that one awful answer to Chris Wallace, where he will not admit what every other presidential candidate in the history of this country has done, and that is that this country is based on a peaceful transition of power.
The more accurate quote was he punched himself in the head and knocked himself out.
Oh, is that the actual quote?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It was. I tweeted at one point, Hugh Hewitt and Tony Mess agreeing with each other. It's just, it's a bizarre world. But that's what, for those people who are out there, look, some people who just decided on Trump because they don't like Hillary, and absolutely nothing you say, absolutely nothing their candidate does will sway them. Those people are gone. But for those people who consider themselves traditional Republicans and think that they have to vote for the Republican because he's the only one who's conservative, read today what conservatives are saying about what your candidate said last night and has said pretty consistently over the last couple of weeks. It's truly, as Hillary Clinton said, horrifying, it's disturbing, it's dark, it's anti-American.
Tony Messenger, where does this put Eric Greitens? Where does this put Roy Blunt? I know Ann Wagner has said she's no longer endorsing Donald Trump, but where does this put her? Local Republicans, are they going to have to respond, and how do you think they're going to respond when asked the question about Donald Trump not believing the results of the election?
I think based on what I've seen, well, first of all, Eric Greitens is a unique case because he doesn't actually answer questions. So, he's in a world all to himself. But I think Roy Blunt is going to continue to do what he's been doing and just get frustrated every time he's asked about Donald Trump. He's married to him already. He may say something like he did about the sexual assaults. Well, I'm disturbed by it, but, he's still my guy. I mean, Republicans last night were really quick with their statements. Lindsey Graham was on Twitter right away. Mike Pence gave a statement. Several people, high-ranking Republicans were quick to disavow that statement, but they won't disavow their candidate because they've given up that opportunity to do so already. And that's the biggest fear amongst Republicans who worry about losing the Senate and maybe even the House, and as well some statewide races, is that so many traditional conservative, constitutional conservative Republicans are going to be so offended by that statement, the lack of dignity that their candidate shows that maybe they just don't show up. And if that happens on Tuesday, then a whole lot of people down ticket are going to be worried that otherwise might not have been.
Tony, I said this yesterday, that Donald Trump is doing his best impression of his own Todd Akin. He's the best weapon Democrats have. He's doing it to himself. And the Republicans are not only allowing him to do it, but the rank and file are critical of anybody who is trying to salvage the Republican Party and call out Donald Trump for what he's saying. It's almost like they're doing Todd Akin to themselves.
Well, first of all, I think that actually disrespects the memory of Todd Akin, because the interesting thing about Todd Akin is Todd Akin at least believed what he was saying. The one thing I always liked about Todd Akin, even though he was wrong about everything, is that Todd Akin believed the words coming out of his mouth. He was not fake about it. He was not disingenuous. The thing about Donald Trump is you never know what he believes, not just from day to day, but from 5 minutes to 5 minutes. He can literally say something on tape in front of a national audience and in the same debate say, I never said that. I mean, that, but as it relates to the political damage, it's a very good comparison, because here's the deal. This is what you get when you believe in the politics of personal destruction. The reason some of those rank and file won't drop off the Trump bandwagon and won't even consider a vote for Hillary Clinton is because they are part of a movement that has been demonizing President Barack Obama for 8 years and has been demonizing Hillary Clinton for 4 years at least. And that creates a situation where you have, in some cases, low information voters who truly believe that she is just exactly how Donald Trump describes her in offensive terms. And it's not offensive to them because they're using even worse terms for her. And those voters can't be saved. But the reality is those voters in a presidential race, in a traditional presidential year, don't matter if everybody else votes. And those are the voters that are going to live and die with Trump, and the map's going to turn pretty darn blue if Hillary Clinton continues to take the momentum that is being handed to her so clearly.
Well, let's not look at it through the prism of now, but during the primary, when the argument was there are people out there, Marco Rubio would be wiping the floor with Hillary Clinton. John Kasich would be up 70-30 at this point of the race with all the flaws in the Clinton campaign. Nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody wanted to vote for more, quote-unquote, traditional Republicans. Any one of those 10 had a legitimate shot of beating her and wiping the floor. The one person who was the total wild card was this guy, and they've stuck with him through thick and thin, even when he does things that are beyond, as the senator from Arizona said, beyond the pale.
Yeah, what's really going to be interesting is November 9th, not just from the standpoint of what does Trump do, what do his followers do, etc., but there comes a point in which the nation is going to have to try to heal, in which the politics of the nation can't be that the day the president is elected, we begin the process of destroying that person's political future. But instead, the day the president is elected, we all try to find a way to work together until that point in which, the politics don't allow us to work together with that president. In my memory, at least, that's the great American tradition and was the great American tradition until the day after President Barack Obama was elected. And Mitch McConnell said, I'm going to do everything I can to battle this man from day one. And so my hope is that all of those mainstream Republicans, all of those leaders like Lindsey Graham and the good John McCain — I have to keep saying the good John McCain because from day to day anymore I can't figure out who he actually is. But those traditional leaders who are so deeply offended by what's going on in this race, what the nation is going to need is the nation's going to need them to stand up on November 9th and say, Hillary Clinton is the President of the United States of America. She is our president, Democrat or Republican, and we in Congress are going to do what we can to support our values while also supporting her presidency so we can move the nation forward. And that's the America I grew up with, and that's the America we need to get back to. And eventually, some of these Trumpites will realize, yeah, over the last few years, the anger train has been fun, but it's time to get off of it.
Well, no question in this country, we do need a loyal opposition. But the angst was out there during the second Bush administration, the Reagan administration, the Clinton administration. The other side has always used their political levers as a weapon. But is it worse today? We can talk about that forever. Tony, you're with us every Tuesday and Thursday. And, of course, we read you at stltoday.com. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Thank you very much.